The Democrats are desperately trying to revive their Russia collusion talking points ahead of this week's hearings with former special counsel Robert Mueller. Now, even though Mueller didn't find any collusion and the DOJ ruled there was no obstruction, Democrats refuse to accept reality and move on. For example, House Judiciary Chairman Jerry Nadler is saying the report could provide evidence for impeachment.
The report presents very substantial evidence that the president is guilty of high crimes and misdemeanors, and we have to present or let Mueller present those facts to the American people and then see where we go from there, because the administration must be held accountable and no president can be above the law.
House Intel Chief Adam Schiff is going even further by claiming Trump could end up in jail.
Lock him up.
He is a essentially unindicted co-conspirator. He's been identified as individual one, as the person who directed Michael Cohen to commit this fraudulent campaign scheme. From my point of view, if the evidence supports that, he should be indicted.
And Texas Congressman Al Green not giving up on his impeachment fantasy.
This president will be impeached. I am convinced of it. I believe my colleagues are moving in this direction, and I trust that it will happen sooner rather than later.
President Trump responding by dismissing the hearing as an attempt to resurrect the witch hunt.
I'm not going to be watching, probably, maybe I'll see a little bit of it. I'm not going to be watching Mueller because you can't take all those bites out of the apple. We had no collusion, no obstruction. We had no nothing. We had a total no collusion finding. The Democrats were devastated by it. All they care about is a phony investigation.
He's definitely not going to be watching the Mueller hearing, is he, Kennedy?
No, the thing I think I enjoy most about this presidency is the MST 3000 aspect, where he really does live tweet along with almost everything, and I really hope he does. He shouldn't hold back. Like, this is the time and the place for his impulsivity, when he's digesting things in real time. But you were saying that the Democrats are dusting off the Russian collusion talking points. They better skip ahead to 2020, because the Chinese are looking at the Russians going, amateurs. We've infiltrated software. We've done so much more than that. Huawei.
Juan, do you think that Huawei is the company that you're referring to that does,
nice job.
does software and networking? Juan, do you think the Democrats are living in the past right now and it's time to move forward?
I don't understand this. I really am puzzled by the president.
That does not surprise me.
Well, because the president is out there saying that Democrats and Mueller can't have a second bite at the apple. This is going to be bad for the Democrats. He's apparently alarmed, as if he's got something to hide. I thought no obstruction, no collusion.
Something to hide, Juan.
He should be asking Mueller
it's like a
to testify.
400-page report.
He should be asking Mueller to stand up and say exactly what's in the report. Instead, he's running like something's wrong. Nobody pay attention. Nobody home. Nobody here.
Well, he looked like he was sitting to me. Tyrus, this is like Mueller hearing week.
Listen, through this whole process, I said I would go with Mueller's report. Typically when an investigation happens, I like to get to the end before I pass judgment. I'm weird that way. And I don't think, and Mueller was a very straightforward guy. I don't see him saying anything different, except maybe turn to page 35.
Right.
For every question they ask. He's going to be like on 27. I think I answered that. I don't think this is going to be a very exciting day for either side. I think we'll just, at the end of this, we'll learn that the Democrats think that he committed high crimes and the Republicans don't believe he did. And that's exactly what will be at the end of the day.
And he's not a very exciting person, but I think the most exciting part is going to be the Republicans on the committee asking some really tough questions that Mueller has not answered.
Absolutely, Jesse. When did you determine there was no conspiracy? At what point after the last FISA warrant renewal in June of 2017? You didn't renew it in the fall. Did you find out then? And why didn't you let the American people know there was no conspiracy before the midterm elections? Why didn't you investigate the predicate of the original counterintelligence investigation? What launched this? Can you tell us that? It's going to be a field day for Republicans. For the Democrats, Jerry Nadler is just trying to rustle up some interest in impeachment because the numbers have been falling. 21%, according to the latest Wall Street Journal NBC News poll, the share of Americans in favor of impeachment hearings, 21%, down 6 points, even down 9 points to 39% for the Democrats. So he's trying to have a dog and pony show. The only problem is no dogs or ponies are going to be there. Dogs and ponies are awesome. Instead, it's an old rooster, Bob Mueller, and a bunch of weeble wobbles.
No. You know who's been standing on one leg in the circus, Dagan? Bill Barr. Bill Barr absolutely spun America on. They said no obstruction, no collusion. Well, that's the case. And by the way, Bill Barr said, go ahead, Mr. Mueller, testify.
Okay, but Juan, I think that's the most important thing then, because if you have some sort of a disconnect between what the Attorney General said when he summarized the report and the author of the report, Special Counsel Robert Mueller, then, you know, Republicans and Democrats should really try and reconcile those two points of view. But I think that's very fair, and I think we should get to the bottom of that because we deserve the truth. The thing that's problematic for Democrats is what Degan's talking about. I don't think they're going to find anything new. I don't think they're going to jostle Robert Mueller's brain and he's going to go, oh my gosh, you guys, I totally forgot. There was this one thing and I meant to charge him and he has to be removed from office now.
No.
And then Hillary flies in on her gilded unicorn.
Okay, so here's to that point, here's the real question I think Democrats could ask. And it's something that we all want to know, Republicans and Democrats. Is the only reason that you chose not to indict this president because of Justice Department policy against indicting a sitting president? And if that's the case, why didn't you talk to the president? Why didn't you talk to Don Jr.? Why did you make these conclusions?
Wait, Don Jr. didn't
and leave
speak
it up
to the Mueller
Bill Barr, knowing that Bill Barr...
Yes, he did, Juan.
What?
Don Jr. spoke to the team, okay? And
no,
the president gave written answers.
Not to Mueller.
Yes, he did. When you are out in the streets, when you're out in the bars, when you're out with your people?
When I'm out picnicking.
When you're out picnicking at the Ferris wheels, when you're out
under cherry trees,
in society,
enjoying life.
Water parks. Does anyone come up to you and say anything like, oh, Mueller, can you believe that?
The American people, just like myself, an everyday Joe, just a little taller than everybody else, we've moved on from this. And here's the thing, Mueller's not going to and that was the point of the whole report, he's not going to make new law, and he's not going to give personal opinions. So I think people wanted him to say, hey, what would you do in that situation? He said, based on the laws in front of me, this is my report. He's going to, and it's the same thing. Now, if our rules are different as far as what a sitting president can and cannot do, then we need to look at that. But he's not going to create... That's what the Supreme Court's for, and that's not what Mueller's going to do.
If you read the Mueller report, and I read the Mueller report, Volume 1, Volume 2, at the end of the day, no investigation was obstructed. Not the FBI counterintelligence investigation, not the Mueller investigation. 500 search warrants, no witnesses interfered with. They could interview anybody that they wanted to, even people in the White House.
Yes, and to that point, the big entree, remember, was collusion. And they didn't find any conspiracy to collude with the Russians to interfere in the election, and I think the rest of the country's moved on.
Wait a second. They did find many instances, in fact, more than 100 instances of contacts between the Russians
not
and
illegal
the campaign.
one. No, not a crime.
Here's the point. They didn't find a conspiracy. They didn't find anything written to say, okay, this is so 100% locked in. We know that
they didn't find a criminal conspiracy.
We know that the Russians
we
tried to influence this campaign, and that the Russians, in fact, wanted Donald Trump to win. But we can't lock it in. That's all. But to say there's no evidence.
You know what I would have asked if if I'm up there, if I'm the congressman, which I will never be a congressman. No, never. Never. I would say, if you're supposed to be looking into Russian interference in the election, why didn't you not look into the Hillary Clinton dossier?
Oh, my God.
But that's a fair question. So if you're talking about contacts from Russians, if that is the threshold, Juan, there were a lot of Russians who had contact with a person that was being paid millions of dollars by the DNC. And if it's problematic to have Russians giving someone information in order to affect the outcome of an election, that has to be problematic as well. If we're going to be consistent, and we're going to apply
an even set of... I think the spin here is making me dizzy because clearly, Fusion GPS is an American company, and you can hire an American company to do whatever you want.
That's right. And they can go to the Russians and say, hey, what do you got on Trump?
That's different than
that's a lie.
And that's different than having Vladimir Putin on the line. Let me tell you.
How do you know that? How do you know there were Russian nationals in
when
contact?
He spoke to Putin, okay?
Cut it out.
Remember, President.
Right. President Obama, what did he say to him? Cut it out.
Next on the 5.